Hey everybody, welcome to the Redmen TV and the uncensored match build-up ahead of Liverpool taking on Wolves this weekend, back at Anfield in the Premier League, of course. I am Dan Clubb. I've got Mark and Jay alongside me to have a chat about it. Gentlemen, first off, how are we?
Good, mate.
Yeah,
good.
Thanks.
Excited.
Good.
Just to say, we're excited for the last game of the season.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, the sun's out, the weather's glorious. Man City are going to win the league. It's Wolves at home, everyone. Here we go again. We'll think we're going to win the league for a bit, and then somebody will break our hearts. And Steven Gerrard will be Aston Villa manager. And yeah, exactly. We've seen this script before. It's not our first rodeo. No, let's do this then, shall we? It's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to one and all. Hope you are spending it with your loved ones. I am, clearly.
I'm here.
Liverpool Football Club and these two gentlemen. Sounds. Let's do this, shall we? Do get involved in the chat as ever along the way, as you already have been doing. David Hunt, Edward Bellamy, hopefully no relation to Craig, although Craig was alright, and Billy Coding says Darwin needs to start. Salah scores every time Nunes on the pitch. Okay, well, we'll delve into that stuff a little bit later on, but first off, we're going to talk Wolves. Mark, I'll come to you on it first, buddy. I'm going to talk Wolves, but I'm going to start off by saying post-Everton, by which I mean it's so important that we respond to what was a sickening blow. Like the Everton stuff, the dust has very much settled on that. We're not going to spend too long dwelling on what happened midweek there, but this is our next opportunity to put it right. So we'll focus on the Wolves element in a moment, but for us, it doesn't matter who we're playing next. It's imperative that we bounce back.
Yeah, we do need to get back to winning ways. Obviously, Plymouth beforehand. Obviously, that was 10 different players that played on Wednesday, but that was obviously a disappointing one. Just sort of was one of those days. I thought the team that Slot picked, albeit it was a second choice, it was more than strong enough to win. Whatever reason, it didn't happen. And then, as you say, Wednesday night was absolutely sickening, really. It's the second time this season that Salah's almost single-handedly dragged us to a win, only for us to conspire to throw it away. There's accentuating sort of circumstances around that, but yeah, we need to get back to winning ways on Sunday, and I've got every confidence we do that. Good record at home against Wolves, so it's imperative we win.
Yeah, Wolves could almost be, I bet they're dreading this version of Liverpool in a way, Jay, because as Mark alluded to there, we're now 2 games without a win, really, albeit one of them in the Cup, of course, and a draw midweek is not the worst result in the world, it's fair to say. But yeah, this is a slightly scarred Liverpool team by what just happened in the past couple of matches, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely, mate. But what I love is the reaction afterwards. Is you've had several players go on social media with sort of powerful statements, if you like, and how they're together and all that sort of stuff. And I do feel sorry for Wolves because there's going to be a backlash, not just from the team but from us in the ground as well. I feel like from an atmosphere perspective, it's going to be one of the better ones when you get sort of earlier on during the day as well, because we're all scarred from Wednesday. But again, when you look at the bigger picture, you always want to win a game of footy, but based on historical results, is the draw was the most likely thing to happen at Goodison anyway. So I'm not too disheartened. It's just what Mark said, it's the way it happened. But you go again, you just go and get the 3 points again, and you make another statement. You go, well, we're not worried about any other team. We just go and do what we're doing. So yeah, I'm a bit frightened for Wolves at the weekend, but we say that and it'll be a 0-0 till the 85th minute, then we'll get a goal.
Yeah, no, beware the wounded beast a little bit, isn't it, from Wolves' point of view? But like I say, yeah, it's just imperative, that we just get back onto the rails with a win if we possibly can. Let's touch on the Wolves side of things, and I'll stick with you, buddy. The new manager, of course, Vitor Pereira, beat Villa last time out in the league, and they got a win over Blackburn in the FA Cup as well. So, yeah, a little bit sketchy. They had a bounce initially with the new boss. It's been a little bit inconsistent ever since. But yeah, I've maintained, and I still maintain this is the case right now, they're too good to be where they are in the league, which is currently just above the relegation, and their squad is capable of more than that, I think. Yeah,
and over the years, Wolves have proved that they are a better side than what the table is reflecting at the minute. And like you said before, mate, they've had a new manager bounce, but they've still shown that little bit level of inconsistency anyway. I'm quite interested to see the disciplinary, because they've had quite a few red cards in sort of last couple of months as well, which is really interesting. So maybe that's an avenue you can sort of exploit a little bit. But mate, it's Mateusz Cunha, that's the only one I'm sort of worried about, because he's and Slot alluded to it in his press conference this morning, that he's the only player playing for that type of in 17th in the league that can play in the top 5 compared to what you get in Holland. You wouldn't have that type of player who's 17th in the league in Holland because it just wouldn't happen. They wouldn't be able to play for PSV or Ajax. So I thought that was quite interesting. So he's the only one that I'm worried about, mate. And I say that it'll bite me in the backside.
Yeah,
now,
of course, yeah.
He's their main threat.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, we'll spend a bit of time talking about him in just a few minutes. I'd wanted to address this chat on the screen actually from Hannah. We believe it still might be on a slot. There was a report, an article went out yesterday on the Premier League website saying he was suspended for 2 games, which may well prove to be the case. I just think it's going to be delayed post this weekend. They're going to look into it and slot himself. Didn't go into details, but referenced the fact there's like an ongoing decision and disciplinary matter to be dealt with there. So good chance slotting the dugout on the weekend, and then maybe not for 2 games after. Šipka Hulšov likewise.
But then it's like, what's the next 2 after that? Villa and City.
Villa City and Newcastle, yeah.
The possibility of having Johnny Heitinger in the dugout, if someone had said that 10 years ago when he was still playing for Everton,
I'm all for it.
Ludicrous.
I'm all for it, absolutely, yeah.
He's all in on the cause now.
Mighty Reds assistant boss, we move. There was a massive few weeks coming up for Liverpool, starting with Wolves, of course, on the weekend. Mark, I'll come to you on it, mate. Injury-wise, I've got a couple of absentees. The centre-forward position with Sasa Kalajic and Strand Larsen both ruled out. I mean, they're 2 proper centre-forwards, like throwback centre-forwards. I think they're both about 6'6". So yeah, they've got their problems. They've got a couple of problems at the back as well. But again, we've just alluded to it there. In Mateus Cunha, in Andre, who's a player that I really like. Some people on YouTube may have realised that down the years. And João Gomez. They've got quality in that side.
Yeah, I think obviously Mateus Cunha, like the real sort of danger man, very much doubt he'd be there at the end of the season. Could imagine him, going to Arsenal, maybe even potentially Liverpool. I mean, I prefer Isak, but this is all sort of dream world sort of stuff. And Larsen is a big miss for them, really. I know Cunha gets the majority of the attention, but Larsen's got a decent scoring record this season. He sort of gives me sort of Weghorst sort of vibes, but maybe that's doing him a disservice because I think he's more than just, a big man with a good touch. He's got a decent scoring record this season.
No, absolutely, yeah. And again, because Wolves had a bit of upheaval in the summer, I think it's fair to say, with a few players leaving, obviously, why can't I think of his name? Pedro Neto and Max Gilman. And they go and sign Larsen to be that number 9, to be that focal point, because Kalajic has had injury problems ever since he arrived, and obviously Larsen gets injured. So yeah, I do feel a little bit for them. And I felt a lot for Wolves all season long, because I really like Gary O'Neill, and they had a treacherous start of the season when it comes to fixtures. And then when they did get a bit of a breathing room when it comes to the quality of teams they were facing, they were so low in confidence they weren't able to pick many wins anyway, you know what I mean?
They were unlucky as well in a few times. Like you look at the City game, they were really unlucky not to get the result there, and it was heartbreaking for them, and things like that when they go against you, it pulls your confidence down, doesn't it?
I think as well, their record with VAR, I mean, I know Arsenal going about it, but I do think they have a point. Ever going back to the opening game against United last season, Onana. I mean, how that wasn't a penalty.
Absolutely.
I know we sort of hate watching on them a bit, but
no,
it was a clear penalty, and it was a bad night for VAR.
They've been sawn off. Everyone has their gripes with officials and VAR, us in midweek included, but they've been sawn off a lot, and so much so they actually requested the VAR got removed. Close season like that. Nobody else voted for it. They were the only one in the end, but that's how strongly and passionately they felt about it.
He'd regularly get booked as well, Gary O'Neill, just out of sheer frustration.
He would.
And again, you feel for him for that as well, because he loses his job, and there's just a lot. He's a decent. He's all right, isn't he? You know what I mean?
I think you could definitely get another job. 100%. And lucky to be sat at Bournemouth. Obviously, started as an under-23 coach at Liverpool, so he's got good pedigree.
Yeah, I like him. I'm sure he'll turn up somewhere else and do a decent job. Finally, just before we head to a very quick break, we've all alluded to Mateus Cunha. So let's spend a couple more minutes talking about him if we can. I'll come to it first. But I've put here threats Cunha, and that's kind of accurate, ultimately. They've got other good players. We've already touched on them as well. But it does feel as though if Wolves are going to cause us genuine problems at the weekend when it comes to transitions, counter-attacks, and just in the final third, a lot of it's going to come through him, isn't it?
Of course it is, mate. And then again, like I said to you before, they've got a lot of danger men, but that's the one where I think, if we're going to try and nullify Wolves, you nullify him, and you've pretty much got, sort of, not one hand on the victory, if you like, but there's an element of keeping him quiet that really helps, because obviously a lot of the stuff does go through him. But he is a worry, and I just hope that the way we're, again, you alluded to it before, didn't you? Say, we haven't won in 2, and you're like, panic stations. Yep. But we're at home. It's a fortress, Anfield, at the minute, and I just think that can help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we are still 7 points clear. After a couple of bad results, everyone starts to panic a little bit. But I think if we win at the weekend, it's a bit like relax. We're back, sort of thing. And just on Mateus Cunha, the biggest compliment I could pay him is he's sort of like a certainty in your fantasy football team. He's regularly sort of scoring points. until the incident against Ipswich, with the assistant's glasses or whatever sort of member of coaching staff it was, which wasn't ideal, but it was only a 2-game suspension. He's come back and he continues to be a key player for them, stayed in January. So
yeah, I really like him. Yeah, stayed in January, there's not a lot of noise about that maybe not being the case. And yeah, he gives me Bobby vibes, which is always a good thing when it comes to football. Adam Davison, just quickly, you coming up for the final. Hotel Anfield I'd recommend. There's loads of great places in Liverpool, full stop. But yeah, our friends at Hotel Anfield, always good atmosphere and good vibe down there. So I'd recommend it strongly. Sound, time for a quick break and then we'll address the Liverpool matters post. But before we do, there's always a trivia question, and today is no different. Liverpool signed Diogo Jota from Wolves, of course. However, I want to know who he scored his first goal against, and even better if you can tell me the game. That's the question. No, not now. Keep your powder dry. Keep your powder dry. You might have heard it there, but wait, put it in the chat, and I'm back in a minute.
Hey everyone, in December we give away a shirt signed by Kenny Dalglish. In January we give a shirt signed by Ian Callaghan away. Well, it's February and we've got another signed shirt to give to one of our wonderful Redmen Plus Legend subscribers. This time it is signed by not one but 2 icons of the football club. This is a Rome 1984 shirt signed by 2 of the men who won the European Cup for Liverpool on that day. You've got Ronnie Whelan and you've got spaghetti legs himself, Bruce Grobbelaar. If you want to be in the draw to win this, simply go to redmenplus.com. Join us as a legend subscriber. Get access to all of our amazing extra content in video and in podcast forms. And yeah, you get loads of perks. You get access to the Discord. You get free merchandise. You get discounted merchandise as well. But if you do it today, by the end of February, you'll be in the draw to win this signed shirt. Ronnie Whelan, Bruce Grobbelaar. Get yourselves involved right now.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Redmen TV. I asked you a trivia question just before that brief intermission, and it was who did Diogo Jota score his first Liverpool goal against? He's gone on to make a habit of scoring against this team, it is...
Nearly stole thunder, but Arsenal at home, 3-1 win.
At home, and if we literally like that, it was exactly that. I've got the match details here from LFC history. Liverpool 3, Arsenal 1 was mentioned. Monday the 28th of September 2020. You can see the teams I scroll down there. You can see the subs I scroll down there. And then you can see the goal scorers. Andy Robertson, who have a goal as well, assisted by Trent.
He made a mistake for Arsenal's goal as well, so redeemed himself.
There you go, redeemed himself. Sadio Mane, Andy Robin and Diogo Jota putting the icing on that particular cake. Well done to Jimbo in the chat. Well done to Mark, of course. And a different Mark Rooney here. I also asked, because you got the goal so quickly, I did also ask during the break who he made his debut against, and we haven't had the correct answer to that.
I'm not a clue.
You've got like 4 seconds in the chat if you want to tell me who it was. No?
I've got a road shout. Lincoln City in the League Cup.
He didn't say that a minute ago.
Because
it was 2 7-2 wins, wasn't there? There was one against Lincoln, but then we lost 7-2 to
Villa.
Arsenal Villa. So
we don't talk about that one.
Yeah.
Ever.
Never happened.
Ever on this channel. That's Aaron, clip that out, get rid of it, please. It's Lincoln City. Yeah, 7-2. In that, you're the man to ask on what colour that kit was.
Oh God! Like
the bluey aqua type.
Yeah, it was like a sea green. It was called. Yeah.
It had a name. Was it that? I'm sure it had a mad name. I don't know if
it was that. It was a mad name. I can't remember what it was.
Anyway,
but the unique thing about it is every single one of them, the pattern was different because every shirt was cut out of one big piece of material. So every shirt of that sea green, whatever you want to call it, none of them had the same pattern. Unless you got it from a dodgy website. But all the originals, it was all cut from one big sheet of fabric and no 2 shirts the same.
Well, nice. I did not know that. And they say you don't know anything watching Redmen TV. We just proved you wildly inaccurate.
And for more information like that, no, I'm a joke.
That'll come. That'll come. What pointless information, Joe. Sounds.
Such a loser.
Let's do Liverpool. No, that's why I came to you on it, mate. To be honest, let's do Liverpool then, shall we? Obviously, we heard from Arne Slot this morning. Mark, I'll come to you, mate. Press conference vibes. Your mate Arne.
Yeah.
Joe Gomez out, we knew that, possibly for the season. Huge shame. There was reports yesterday that this cast doubt over his participation in this campaign. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we do see some more of him. But yeah, massive blow. Trent seemingly back, obviously came on in midweek, expected to train today as normal. Cody Gakpo is a doubt, which was somewhat of a surprise to me. We're still relatively clean bill of health, but there are 1 or 2 little issues arising there.
Yeah, well, I asked Slot about that, and he said, well, you can answer the question yourself. You'd be very happy to be in this situation right now. But firstly, on Joe Gomez, bit of a shame because he got the injury against West Ham. came back quite quickly from that. So, we thought there wasn't going to be any sort of more long-term injuries, and then only plays 11 minutes, was it, against Plymouth at the weekend. So that's a disappointment, particularly because he's done so well at centre-back this season. Remember that Napoli game a few years ago where he literally looked like he sort of couldn't tackle. So sort of the resurrection of him as a centre-back's been great to see. But that's unfortunate. Hopefully, he does still have a future at the club. I think, still a very sort of useful utility player, particularly with the future of Trent, up for question. On Trent himself, obviously he came on during the derby. I always thought his link up with Salah could be key to winning that game, which sort of nearly proved the case, particularly when he came back against Newcastle earlier in the season. Instrumental in that. And then, Gakpo's a shame that sort of come out of nowhere, really. Must maybe a knock in training or potentially at the end of the derby, but that's a shame.
Massive shame, with Cody. He was one of my sort of nail-on starters for this one. Listen, he may well still be fine. He's going to hopefully assess him today. I think they had a day off yesterday, so hopefully nothing too serious. Nobody can be involved the weekend, but let's wait and see on that.
Well, he's done well, hasn't he, at home? Gakpo especially, because his
Anfield record's superb.
I think the last 6 times he started, he's got a goal, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's banging form as well, isn't he, ultimately? And I'm not sure the same could be said for all of our attacking options right now. But
I think as well, because Diaz was the starting left winger at the start of the season with Jota down the middle. Gakpo's worked his way into the team, particularly taking his chances in the League Cup. So I think him and Salah are like the 2 nailed on for the front 3 at the moment. The other 3, Diaz, Jota, Nunez, they're a bit more up for rotations.
I agree, and we'll talk about them in a minute, because I think the centre-forward conversation is a fascinating one. We'll do, as per usual, start from the back and move forwards, though. I've got goalkeeper down on the agenda here, just because it lives there.
Yeah,
but
Robert, innit? Oh, sorry, David Jacob.
Oh, sorry, it's 2025. Let's move on from that, shall we? I literally don't even need to say the words, and I'm going to refuse to. Let's move on to the defence then. Jay, I'll stick with you on it, mate. The right back is somewhat of a conundrum, I guess, because we just touched on the fact that Trent gets minutes. I thought Conor Bradley was okay in midweek. Impassioned, I would describe his performance. Maybe overly so at times. Yeah. The derby, the blood and thunderness of it definitely suits him, and he was bang up for it. But in terms of moving forwards, where's your head at with that position?
Again, it's such a tough one, mate, because you'd like to see Trent come back in, but what's his fitness like? And we have got an even tougher game next week against Villa, and so you think, well, what do we want to do there? Again, it's like a game of snooker. You got to play three shots ahead, haven't you? So I can see a world where Bradley starts and Trent comes on again, or the other way around. Trent starts and then we save him and bring Bradley on. So it's a very difficult conversation. I'm not going to nail myself to any name because I'd be happy with either.
Which is great.
We're in that world, which is great. Because I do agree with you, Bradley. I thought his intensity was great midweek. I think there might have been a few nerves with some elements of his game. I don't agree with his yellow card because I think he's just going for the ball at the end of the day, and less said about Michael Ola, the better at the minute. But I appreciate that intensity from him. We've seen that all the time with him, so he never really puts a foot wrong. So again, for the right back, you can stick either of them in. I'll be happy. I don't know about you two.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. Do let us know in the chat as we go along who you'd be going for in these positions, and indeed the whole 11. Mark, Jason, there really, you could do a 60-30 either way around on this. What would be your preference?
I think again, I'd probably tempt to start Bradley because I'm more sort of confident we win this game. Obviously, he kept Bradley on I don't think he was even in the squad necessarily for the Plymouth game. Because there was the thought that he was going to start the derby, so play Gomez at right back, or was it McConnell actually in the end? So no, that's an interesting one. But I think Bradley, not to quote Mika Richards, but he sort of did burst onto the scene. That goal against Chelsea last season. I'd argue he's not quite reached that level since, because his just confidence was so high, but he's still done a really solid job. I think, people talk about if you're going to lose one of the 3 with the contracts, Trent maybe could be that, but he's such a creative outlet. He would be a big miss, and, Bradley, very able deputy, but maybe just the last sort of aspect of his game is to improve his crossing. Having said that, he has provided a few assists, so at his age, I think he's doing, very well.
The hell of a play, he really is, and I'm with you, James. I don't really mind which one of them it is, which again speaks volumes of the player, because for me, Trent Alexander-Arnold is one of the best footballers in the world. Centre halves, is it just Ibu and Virgil?
You're at home in the Premier League, you put them two on sorted, and they've got such a threat up top, so you stick with those two.
I think the only other option would be Quanton. I can't really, no need to play him in this game. I think, ever since that Ipswich game when he was hooked at half time, he's not really had a look in, which has been ruthless, but at the same time, Konate's raised his level, so I don't think, anyone can complain, really.
Okay. The only reason I said it with slight trepidation in my voice is because it has to be those two for the next 3 games after this. So that 4 games, which is
an option, but
which is fine. 4 games on the spin, high intensity.
You hook him at some point, in a positive way if you can.
Yeah.
If you have a couple of goals to good, then you take one of them off.
Because you do worry a little bit about Konaté's injury record. Van Dijk tends to play every minute, but Konaté, a little bit like John Matip used to be, can be a little bit injury prone.
Okay,
you just got to manage it. Yep. But everyone. We say about looking 3 or 4 games ahead, but then everyone always says you just focus on the next game. You just got to get that next win. You got to get that 3 points on the board.
So one benefit of being out of the FA Cup now, less games. Liverpool have a weekend off in the 5th round. So
yeah, coming up. Okay, left back then. Similar with the right back one, slightly different conversation, but yeah, it is somewhat of a toss up. Jay, Tsimikas, Robert.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to nail because this is a less of a positive conversation for me as opposed to the right back situation, because we're not getting the best out of either of them at the minute. They're having good little moments like Costas did against Forest and stuff, but we're not seeing that level of sort of reliability that we've got on the right. And I love Robbo, I really do. I got frustrated with him on Wednesday when he's doing stupid little pushes and he's kicking the ball away. I think, he's more experienced than that, and I know it's a derby and stuff, but it's just like the camera panned to Slot just as he'd done it, and he's like that. And
he was on his knees, wasn't he?
Yeah. I felt like I was looking in the mirror because I did the exact same thing myself.
Yep.
But again, if I'm going to force to choose, I'm choosing Robbo just for the sheer experience and reliability, and I think he's a little bit more comfortable at home.
I think I might respectfully disagree and just say
Tsimikas.
Just out of frustration with Robertson, because he is sort of very experienced, but kicking the ball away in a derby, when you got a lot of defending, so you're probably going to put a challenge and take a yellow card. It just seemed needless. You can see the frustration in Slot. He might even do it just as a little sort of punishment, sort of keep him on his toes. I do think last few games Robertson's been better because it's probably the toughest spells of Liverpool career. People saying, is he sort of coming towards the end or certainly past his best? He's been better recently, but that was very sort of out of character for him, really.
Yeah.
Doesn't normally keep his head. So it puts us in a position where we end up having to change both fullbacks. Not ideal, but I will just go Tsimikas for this one. Robertson back in for Villa, I think.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's do the midfield then. This, to me, midfield's always crucial in any game of football if you're going to get the better of it. But this in particular feels massive because Wolves, by and large, since Pereira's come in and played a 3-4-3, and they've got real sort of energy and bodies in that midfield department. I think Gary O'Neill was trying to do something similar but never really got a tune out of it. But now, Jay, in terms of Andre, in terms of Bellegarde, in terms of Gomez, they have got ball winners and athletes in there. They do a little bit of help from Cunha as well, who drops back in. Sarabia likewise as well. Nori's busy in there as well from his wing back position. So yeah, it can be a very crowded area to pitch. So it's important Liverpool get it right. Which by and large looked like Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. It may well do for this. Obviously we know no Curtis Jones. So yeah, I think in an ideal world we might have done a bit of Curtis Jones, possibly something. Yeah, exactly. But now, with the hands that we've been dealt, we've got to go full strength.
Absolutely. I think there was an element for Curtis Jones, considering what you just said there about being ball winners and it's crowded. He's good in those little tiny spaces, Curtis Jones, and finding space. So I think there would have been an opportunity for him. But again, we've been dealt a different card now. So I think you just go Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch. I can't see it being anything else.
Similar.
I'd say the same. I mean, I do feel sorry for Endo because if you look at his minutes this season compared to last, he sort of switched roles with Gravenberch without really putting a foot wrong. But Gravenberch's, been a revelation. On Curtis Jones, I would have liked to have actually seen him for a little bit against Plymouth because I knew he wasn't going to start the derby, and I know you sort of don't want to risk players, but I do think we had a big enough squad at least to give Plymouth a bit more of a go. But obviously, we did end up playing 30 minutes in the derby. Now he's suspended, so he's going to have an enforced break anyway. But I think you go full strength for midfield at the weekend. No reason not to.
Yeah.
Another watching brief for Harvey Elliott, though. Jordan Howie asked, do you think there's a world where it is Harvey Elliott for Solomon? Jay, I'll come to you on that, mate. I wasn't planning on doing much of a chat really on this, but Jordan's asked the question. It feels, and Nitesh has asked similar, it's almost no, just definitely no, which feels a bit mad. Like I can dismiss that out of hand, but we're just not likely to see it. It would be a huge shock, which says a lot, really.
It does, mate, and I think there's this stigma at the minute about Harvey Elliott starting a game of football. It tends to not work as well as what we would hope. he's better coming off at the bench in the minute, and I want that to change for him so much because the lad is super talented, and I just think he has a better impact coming off the bench. He has that burst of energy. You know, he can take players on, and he is good at putting the ball in the box as well. You know, I love it when he cuts inside on his left and he clips the ball in. I just think it's so dangerous, but I just don't see a world where he starts a game at the minute because it's just not working.
I think it's a shame for him because he was sort of injured in the first sort of few competitive months of Slot's reign, which has sort of disadvantaged him. But if you look at the end of last season, he's probably ahead of Curtis Jones in the pecking order. That goal against Tottenham at home, you know, really taking the game by the scruff of the neck. And now he's sort of somewhat fallen down the pecking order. Had a poor game, to be honest, against Plymouth. Reminded me a bit of that game against Brentford a few years ago, where he really struggled, did that needless sort of dummy. So sort of sad to see. Again, given the penalty away, I know there's a bit of debate about that, but he don't think there's any question really. He had both hands.
He was the only one debating it.
Nearly caught the ball.
He did nearly catch the ball.
I think it's a shame, but he sort of reminds me a little bit of Jordan Henderson, that he really likes sort of playing for Liverpool. He's going to fight for his place. I know after like a season, Henderson was nearly sold to Fulham. But, you know, he's a boyhood Liverpool fan, went to the final in Kiev, I think. So I think he'll want to fight for his place, but there might be no way back in.
It's looking like that. It is looking like that. And like I say,
he's done it before, though, where he has been out of sorts, then he's got into the team. And he has a good spell. He's certainly got the talent, and I want him to do because I love the way he fights for the shirt.
I think part of the problem is because Slot plays sort of like three sort of quite big, you know, tackling midfielders. Is he a little bit lightweight? And, you know, originally he was sort of like more of a right winger, but you're never going to get him. So Salah being there, and especially Chiesa now. So.
It's tough. It really is tough. As you said there, alluded to it there, mate. Like, he's overcome adversity, in inverted commas, for somebody so young. Injury-wise, you know, out of the favour-wise, he's done it a few times already. Pigeonholed last year as a super sub, broke the shackles of that at the back end of the season, as you alluded to, so I wouldn't put it past him doing exactly the same again. It's just right now, having had a bit of a renaissance a few weeks ago when everyone started to consider him again, it feels like he's been very much put back in that nearly man, fringe, periphery bracket.
I think just one more quick point on it, because him and Curtis Jones are sort of academy graduates. I know they paid the money to Fulham for Elliott. I think because then you've got the three, Soboslai, McAllister and Gravenberg, you paid transfer fees for. They're always sort of ahead of them because the other players have sort of come out of the academy, so there's less, you know, pressure to justify like a price tag. But
it's a fair point. It's very much a fair point. Okay, let's move into the forward line then. We've got our midfield boxed. Mo Salah is engraved at right wing, so let's leave that. Left wing, obviously we know. Let's live in a world where Gakpo isn't available, Jay.
Okay.
Just Diaz out there?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. It has to be. I'm sick to death of the Diaz experiment up front now. It's driving me insane. So I don't want to see it anymore. It worked fine in September. It's great, but it just doesn't. In a world, it doesn't work for me now. And I think because Jota came on, I'm confident that Jota could possibly start the game now, or Nunes, and I'm fine with either because I do. I'm not bothered, but Diaz on the left for me.
Okay. Just a quick on the Diaz thing. Yes, the experiment. I've never been wholly convinced by it, and I look daft post by Leverkusen, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, but
happens to us all, mate. Doesn't it?
Yeah, but there was just this. In certain games, we really lacked just somebody to occupy the box.
Yeah.
And we saw the flip reverse of that against Brentford when we had struggled to get anything like a proper chance. Then Nunes comes on, he's a striker, he's in the right place at the right time, look what happens. But the Diaz thing, Mark, I'll come to you on it a little bit, because the centre forward stroke false nine stroke whatever you want to call it conversation is one thing, but Diaz this year 2025 is yet to score or assist. That feels like a problem. Like, as much as, you know, I don't want to sit here and be negative, regardless, he needs to start producing the goods again, whether it be from left wing like it's likely to be the weekend, or whether it be centre forward. Like, if you're going to play the amount of minutes, and it's all well and good being a facilitator and causing headaches and what have you, but if you're going to keep playing for Liverpool in the attacking department, you're going to have to come up with some goods at some point. Yeah,
I mean, he certainly started the season well. Go back to that friendly against Sevilla at Anfield. I think he scored a brace, possibly even a hat-trick. Then the first home game of the season against Brentford. So he's added goals to his game. He looked, you know, like more of a end product player under Slot. And then it's somewhat slowed. He's had, the game against Leverkusen where he played down the middle, and West Ham away and Tottenham away where it's worked. I don't know if that's something to do with their defences. They're more sort of ball-playing teams. They're not sort of sitting back. As you mentioned, Brentford, Nunes, you know, was required in that situation. I do think he'll start on the left at the weekend because I think it's always sort of between him and Gakpo. Down the middle, it sounds mad actually saying Jota, you know, starting a game just because he's so injury prone, sort of a bit like Chiesa. You really have to protect them. But you do think like it's his old club, he's going to be up for it. At least give him sort of 60 minutes. Equally, Nunes has probably earned his opportunity to start. So I think one of those two comes in. But the sort of the inconsistency and the injury proneness of all three of those attackers is frustrating, really.
Well, it's bringing them all into question. I think it's fair to say. Again, not a conversation for now. Definitely for one much further down the line. But yeah, there's definitely, like I said, there's definitely opinions and conversations to be had around the futures of all three of them for various reasons. I think I seen this morning, Jota only started like 7 games this season. Like, it's just not enough, is it? I think there's a chance one of them is on Sunday, to be honest with you, because I think you might just plump for him over Darwin Núñez. And do you have any strong opinion on which one of them it is?
Again, no.
Not really.
I'd be happy with either, because I do like, again, Darwin doesn't do enough, i.e. putting the ball in the back of the net for the number that's on the back of his shirt. But it's like what the comment said at the beginning of the show. He does sort of provide quite a bit for Salah, and he is a bit of a nuisance, and it does help Salah quite a bit, and I like that. I do like a bit of a nuisance of a forward, but when you've got Diogo Jota around that area, you know what's more likely to happen.
Delivers,
I think I'd lean slightly towards Jota. I mean, he did start the season as the sort of starting number 9, goals against Ipswich and Palace. So it was sort of working for him, but you can't build a team around him because he doesn't stay fit. And I'd argue Núñez sort of works harder. Like the game against Plymouth, it was one of those for Jota where he just goes missing until probably that chance right at the end. Núñez at least puts himself about a bit more, probably never wins a header in the air, but at least he's running about making himself a nuisance.
No, he definitely does that. I think he did that really well against Spurs, actually, but again, there's only so far I can take it. Right, we'll get some score predictions.
What would you do? Sorry,
it's a good question. I would go Jota. For this personally, and a Jota with a view, and it's kind of leans into what we talked about a minute ago in terms of we've got to go really strong in terms of team selection here because of suspensions and what the game means, etc., 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 and what's available to us. So I think if you go Jota, there's more of a chance you kill the game off quicker. And then you might be able to go Núñez for the final half an hour. You might be able to go Harvey Elliott for the final half an hour. Quansah for Canate. You can make the changes that you really want to make if you go Jota, it feels like. You know what I mean? Because more often than not, you give him 2-3 chances in around the penalty area and you're going to get 1 or 2 from him. And that's kind of... I'm heading into this game with all due respect to Wolves and the fact that they are a dangerous opponent, etc., etc., etc. But the quicker we get this done and we can make the 5 changes, Endo for Gravenberch, etc., 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 the better for me. So, Jota feels like the go-to man for that. Wolves they'll be front-footed. They won't come and just park a bus. They're sort of like the halfway house between that and a really attacking, counter-attacking Bournemouth type side, you know what I mean? But there will be opportunities for us, you would imagine. And like I say, Jota's just the guy. So let's touch on some fixtures. Start thinking about your score predictions as well. This weekend, Mark, Leicester, Arsenal, 12:30 Saturday. A very depleted Arsenal, I think it's fair to say, when it comes to the forward line in particular. Do you hold out any hope that relegation, battling, fighting for their lives, scrapping Leicester can produce the goods?
Well, they do say sort of never back the early kickoff, so you never know. I do think Leicester are sort of half decent as well. They have, to put it bluntly, really got a championship squad, but they're scrapping under, Ruud van Nistelrooy. nearly took United to extra time in the FA Cup. They robbed really with the offside call. So they could take something off Arsenal. They'd have you believe everything's going against them at the moment. I think Kai Havertz out might be an advantage. I don't know. There's a world where Sterling's going to be potentially one of the main attackers. He's obviously struggled there, but it's a chance for him to take the opportunity. But I think there's a world where Leicester hold them to a 1-0 draw.
Having a party?
I'd put a draw on it. I mean, obviously a lot of my brain is saying that's what you want because you want to drop points. But how can you say that Arsenal are going to win this game when they've got so many of the forward line out and they weren't scoring as much anyway? So again, but then this is us at the end of the day. This is our luck when we never do things the easy way. They could end up blitzing Leicester 4-0. You never know.
Yeah,
do you?
No, that's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, all things are possible, I think, in that one. Like you say, it wouldn't shock me whatever happened. No name says doesn't matter. The title's lost anyway. Okay.
Why?
Well, there's probably a good reason.
Right, come back with this reply and tell me why. You can't just say that. There's lots of characters left. Tell me why.
We've lost the league at Goodison Park.
There might be there's probably a strong reason that no name is their name, to be honest with you. But anyway, we'll move on. Let's do the rest of the fixtures. Aston Villa, Ipswich, Aston Villa at home, you'd imagine. Fulham, Forest. Fulham, Forest at Fulham. Listen, Forest continue to just be brilliant at football, it feels like, so it wouldn't shock me at all if Forest got something there. Quite an intriguing game for lots of reasons, Mark. I'll come to you on it, mate. City, Newcastle, 3 o'clock Saturday. That feels big.
Yeah, well, early in the season when City drew at Newcastle, we were thinking, that's great, that's a point drop for them in the title race. They don't really, seem to be in it now. Newcastle seem to sort of, look good some games and then not good at all. Other games, absolutely hammered sort of Arsenal across 2 legs, but then lost 4-1 at home to Bournemouth. So you can never quite tell. But I think they're sort of starting to build up a head of steam again under Eddie Howe. Looking good for top 4, mate. I can't see them finishing 3rd, but I think definitely strong for 4th. I think they're a better team than Chelsea. So I'd lean towards a Newcastle win. I mean, if Alexander Isak's firing, no one can stop him. He absolutely bullied Saliba and Gabriel. So.
He's right, because it's a massive game for the fight for top 4.
Yeah,
it really is, and it'll be a good atmosphere. So that'll be an interesting one to watch.
I'm quite glad it's nowhere near our games for us, because I definitely have at least one eye on it. Southampton, Bournemouth, South Coast stuff. West Ham, Brentford, London stuff, and then Palace, Everton, R5 kickoff. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Where's that at?
That's a Palace,
right?
Yeah, that's a Palace.
Bring them back down to earth.
Yeah, possibly. Whatever. Us, Wolves, obviously 2:00, and then Spurs, Man United. I'm reticent
battle.
Yeah, I'm reticent to go too hard on that or call it El Sacaco, but yeah, that feels like anything. I feel like entertainment, Jay.
It does. It feels like a lot of things could happen in that game. So that's definitely one to watch. Like, you could chill, sort of like enjoy watching Liverpool if you can.
Yeah,
and then if we get the right result, you can chill and watch that game.
100%. Yeah. I like that prospect. I mean,
I'll switch it off
on Sunday in the studio stuff. And yeah, if we win, I'll be very much aiming to get out of here to watch the second half of that. It does feel like a good fun Sunday night.
I think Spurs win.
Keep
Sanj in the job a bit longer.
yeah, I'd be fine with that. Again, I'd be fine with it. It's entertaining, isn't it, mate?
Isn't it, mate? Yeah, hanging on by a thread, mate.
That's a good. I like that comment. I would love a 4-0 statement win. We've not done anything like that for a while.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
I've been crying out for a statement win, which I know sounds like the most obvious thing in the world. Ultimately, it's like winning games of footy, but there is something deep within me, because obviously my only living memory of Liverpool winning the league title was sort of, sporadically dropped into it were statement wins.
Yeah.
Obviously there was Leicester was one of them, you know what I mean? We had the Villa one, albeit a different way of winning the statement, but still the fashion. We had these wins along the way, and league titles don't need to be constructed like that, obviously, because you can win a league title lots of different ways, but I'm craving something that goes, especially after midweek, where we go, don't worry about us, like we've got our house in order, you know what I mean? It's up to everybody else to try and catch yours. That's what I'm craving this weekend. Just to calm everything
down a little bit from everybody, whether you're a Liverpool supporter or not, or whether you're a Liverpool fan media or you're a rival fan media, it just calms it down a little bit. It's like they've just won 4-0.
I think it's one of those, when you've lost a 2 game, you start sort of doubting everything, and then when you win a game, you're like, oh, we have got a really good team. We've got great players. It's like crisis over. So.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. I'm absolutely with you on that. And with all that in mind, obviously, league table looks like this: 7 points clear at the top of it, a better goal difference than Arsenal by 8, which in itself is quite a big old advantage. Yeah, and as you say, there's a point, which means we're 10 points clear of Forest with a miles better goal difference than them, and the rest is the rest, only about below that. So yeah, again, midweek disappointment notwithstanding, we're in such a healthy position, hopefully double down upon by a win at the weekend, Jay, which looks like what?
3-1, but we go 1-0 down.
I hate you. Honestly.
I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit and just go 2-0. I think it's just important we win, clean sheet. There's potential for a 3 or 4-0, but just important we win 2-0. If you get 2 early goals, you can just sort of relax.
I want a 2-3-4-0. That's what I want, but I'm just trying to be.
But a 4 or 5-0 sends a real statement.
It does, mate. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The most important thing's to win, because little tiny crisis in confidence at the moment. So yeah, just important to win.
Yeah, well, we lost on Wednesday, didn't we? According to them, so
they won the league.
That was on Wednesday.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like you said. It's a win. Just get the 3 points. I don't care how we do it. You get the win. Dan, what are you saying?
I am saying I'm going to agree with JD on the screen. I think it's 3-0. I think it's 3-0, and it's quite statement-ish, stroke comfortable.
Yeah.
I think we do put on a little bit of a display. Not so much of a display that, we go 4, 5, 6, something crazy.
Yeah.
But I think it is just, we're boss. And Wolves are decent. They probably stay up, but nowhere near as good as us.
So what you're saying, 1-0 at half time, 2 in the second half.
Yeah, maybe even more comfortable than that. 2-1, perhaps. I think Wolves are a decent side, but I just think this is, given what's gone on, given all the messaging one of you guys alluded to earlier post-match, and that defiance and that we'll bounce back, we'll respond. If there is anything to respond to or bounce back from, of course, because it wasn't a defeat as much as they will make you believe it was. I back us. Again, we touched upon it right at the start of the show. Like, Wolves are almost, again, not quite lambs to the slaughter, but thinking, God, I wish we were playing Liverpool in a better situation than this, you know what I mean? Without the sickening blow. Yeah, let's hope so. Just finally, then, a couple of bit of housekeeping to wrap up upon. I will be back for the watch along, as mentioned earlier on Sunday. Do come and join us for that, of course, across YouTube. I've also done the Oppo preview show this morning with David Edwards, who played like 300 odd times for Wolves, and it's boss chat. Genuinely good guy, knows his stuff, knows Wolves really, really well. So there'll be a clip of that on YouTube a bit later on as well. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Jay. Stuff going on? New episode out?
Oh, yes. So I've got a new YouTube channel called Fake Spotting. Called Tops of the Cop. It's just dedicated to Liverpool kits and retro life and all that sort of stuff. So I've got a new series on there called Fake Spotting, where I, sort of short form videos of taking the retro shirts that people like to buy and helping you spot a fake online. Because a lot of people ask me, about eBay and Vinted, is this real, is this legit? And I'll just take each shirt episode by episode and just show you the tips and tricks what to look out for. And it's doing quite well, mate. It's people are enjoying it. So they're only like 6 or 7 minutes long, but it's doing all right. But there's a long interview with Patrick Berger on there where we go through his 5 favourite shirts. I've just filmed with Jason McAteer, who's picked his 5 favourite shirts as well, which is really good. And I've got someone else booked in on the 7th of March, so I'm looking forward to that one. So yeah, doing all right, mate. So head over to Tops of the Cop.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate the support.
Someone else, he said.
Yeah, someone else.
Complete discretion.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Cool. Everything like you? Work?
Yeah, all good. Back on my course next week, trying to become full-time journalist. So.
Look at that. Still wet behind the ears, bless him. Look at that. Boss, I think that's us.
Thanks, mate.
No problem at all. Oh, this is what I wanted to deal with. Sorry, there was one more thing. Tech crashing. Who's in technical area? And I did touch on this earlier, but clearly you just joined, which is absolutely fine, by the way. Probably on the slot because we're sort of awaiting the punishment. He's more likely to be banned for Villa and Man City than he is Wolves at the weekend. Make of that what you will. Jonesy lad, thank you indeed for the comment. Thanks everybody else for watching, listening, taking part, etc. Make sure you stick around for Redmen TV 2 later. God, there's a lot of housekeeping. Where Errol will be back with the 2nd episode of Red Cartel, where rival fans will be joining him and we'll have a chat about lots of things, probably mostly Michael Oliver. So if that's your bag, do get along and get involved. Sound, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Apologising for being late. It's fine. We're not some sort of school. Just don't do it again. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. See you soon.